All right, welcome on into the podcast. I'm Brett.
I'm Dorian.
And today is our Thursday throwback of Avatar Book 3 Fire, Season 3 of the Avatar series.
We did it. We're done.
We did it. I got to say, this was a lot of work. This is way more watching and work than I thought.
Yeah.
I think if we do, I don't know. I think if we do another series, maybe like one a month, because it was like trying to fit even 10 episodes a weekend felt like quite a bit, especially when you're not just watching.
But you got to take notes.
You got to take notes and kind of understand and know what you're talking about and reference back to it and have it make sense. So,
well, especially a show as deep as like Avatar, just with how much lore and how much like other stuff that you can like get into on the show here and all that.
Yeah.
Like, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For those of you who are watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and like, share with your friends. If you're on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or Google Podcasts, make sure you're subscribed as well and that you're sharing it with your friends. And leave us a review.
Yeah.
For either of them, or comment on YouTube. We love it. So we know a couple of you have brought up some really good points in the past, and so stuff I don't remember about certain people. So
yeah. So let's get into it. So first impressions of watching this season, like the first time you've ever watched it, like what was going through your head?
I just remember waiting a long time. Like it felt like it was a long time, as I was a teenager when this came out, and impatient in general. So I just think that, and for a good reason, I felt like I was waiting too long because I really love this show.
Yeah.
I just felt like it was never coming. And then...
Well, yeah, because I remember this, you were saying that this was like one of the few shows like when you were actually waiting for like the next season and just chomping at the bit for the next thing on it. Yeah.
So, yeah, I just remember waiting, and then when it came out, I was more than satisfied.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know if our listeners, viewers, our people remember or not, but when I first watched this series, I basically just binged it on Netflix after it came out. So, but I do remember like once as I got to season 3, I was like, okay, wow, this show grew up between seasons.
Yeah, big time.
This season definitely has a lot more of a serious tone and darker, and not like to the point where like really makes it like inappropriate for kids here. It's just like compared to like the first 2 seasons, it's more. It kind of like turns the dial more, I would say.
Yeah, it pushes those boundaries a little bit more. And if you guys haven't checked out our other Thursday throwbacks, we talk about book 1 and book 2 as well. And so check those out. But yeah, so we're focusing solely on book 3 Fire. And so, yeah. Yeah.
So, first impressions on rewatching it.
For me, first impressions rewatching, I felt like it was a shorter season,
even though there's like
the same
at least
one more episode
than the last 2.
Yeah. I think because of how quality the episodes were.
Well, I think it's also just the writing is just very airtight this season. It's very like,
it's the final season.
It's by and large it's very focused on like, what it wants to go, what boxes it needs to check off in order to like get us to the finale.
Yeah. And there's, there were, I think, I don't remember the timeline, but there was always rumors of a book 4 air, because we never got book 4 air. Originally there was supposed to be 4 and they ended up doing 3.
Yeah.
I think that was right call because I really like the finality of 3.
Yeah.
It does raise questions though, with certain things, and we'll talk about them later.
We will. Yeah. So, yeah, when I was rewatching this season for this Thursday throwback, I forgot how good this season was.
Yeah, so good.
And it's one of those ones that, like I said, writing very airtight. It makes it very easy to binge just because it's just like, I definitely need to watch another one. And then, I definitely need to watch another one after that here. It's like, it makes it very easy. It's a very potato chip effect kind of season. Yeah. For lack of a better term.
Yeah.
But looking back on it, I was really surprised that Nickelodeon like agreed to a 3-season format for a show as popular as Avatar here, just because I felt like like most TV shows or like most like kid shows, they'll just try to milk it and just say, "Oh, we don't care. Just make sure you're coming up with something. That way we could just keep our numbers up, basically."
Yeah, I think part of that is due to the nature of the show being story driven and not just like one off, like funny, like Fairly Odd Parents. Like, there's no like overarching.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
story.
Well, I mean, you even look at like something like, I mean, granted, it's, different nationality, but anime.
Yeah.
Like, those, I mean, by and large, you'll see like a lot of those be story focused.
That's true. Yeah.
But they'll go on and on. Like,
that's why we have Boruto.
Yeah. I mean, finding like, like a mini series anime or something that's actually condensed down to like,
10 episodes,
like
or so,
a nice, digestible format as opposed to like getting into hundreds and hundreds of episodes. It's
like Samurai Champloo and
Death Note's another one. Yeah, exactly.
So
let's talk about like what's happened between season 2 and season 3 here.
Yeah, so we kind of leave season 2 on a huge cliffhanger, one that I loved and hated.
Yeah,
being that Aang got shot with lightning while he was in the Avatar state. Mm-hmm. He got healed. We saw that at the end of season 3.
Yep.
And then he passes out basically, and that's the end of the season.
Yeah.
So then it picks up. Aang's waking up. He has hair. Yeah. So he's been out. He's been out for a while.
Yep.
They're on a Fire Nation ship. He thinks he's captured.
Yeah.
And it turns out they kind of they overtook it somehow,
and they're basically masquerading as Fire Nation and going to the Fire Nation.
Yeah. Yep. Pretty much. Zuko has been given the credit for
killing the
Avatar, so he's back.
Yeah.
Iroh at the end of season 2 surrenders to Azula and the Dai Li, knowing he's not going to win that. I mean, he probably could have won that fight.
He probably could have.
Wouldn't have helped him, so he got thrown in prison. So we see him in jail.
I mean, he plays that pie show, man. He's just like playing the long game.
Oh yeah, and we see that played out too.
Yeah.
So let's look at the characters and where they are now. So Aang, the Avatar.
Yeah.
From his progression from season 1 and even season 2, he's way more serious.
Yeah, I mean, he's still Aang. He's still a kid, but I mean, he's definitely come to terms with the responsibility and like also just the fact that in season 2 he failed. Like,
yeah, big time.
Like the bad guys won, Ba Sing Se fell, and he understands that he can't fail anymore here. Like this is no longer a thing that the world can afford.
Yeah, and you see that specific thing that the world can't afford, having Fire Nation in power is kind of the theme, obviously, of this because it takes place in the Fire Nation, and we see it firsthand, like even down to like the what do you call it? Not brainwashing. What's the term?
Indoctrination.
Yeah, kind of, but like all the different like things they're teaching in schools, like how great their nation is, this, that, and the other thing, and when really it's kind of very similar to like a Nazi Germany. Yeah. But anyway, I think Aang's kind of coming to terms. He has to face his destiny really soon, which is to take down the Fire Lord. And now what that means for him is doing something potentially that he won't do, which is take life.
Yeah, because up to this point, like he hasn't, and like meanwhile, Sokka's like blowing up airships with like dudes in it.
He's going hard.
Oh, he doesn't care.
No,
but
he's a warrior.
Yeah, but no. So yeah, I mean, Aang has the moral conviction on like whether or not he should, kill Zuko's dad, the Fire Lord Ozai, and it's not something that really comes to fruition or comes to like a actual point or like point of contention until like towards the end of the season here.
Yeah, and it was really Zuko asked him like
it was
who were they fighting? Azula?
No, it was with Katara, like when she was going after her mom's killer, and he's like I'm glad you chose not to resort to like taking her life.
And he's like
so if that's how you feel, how are you going to deal with my dad here? Yeah,
essentially what Aang said was Katara didn't lead to taking their life and getting like revenge, and he's like it never should.
Yeah,
and he goes, well, then what are you going to do about my dad?
Yeah.
And then that causes the great conflict in him, and then he ends up talking to his avatar selves of the past.
Yeah,
and all of them are on the same page. Like, you have to do what's better for the world. Like,
yeah.
You have to take yourself out of the equation.
Yeah.
All right, Katara.
Yeah.
Getting stronger and stronger. You know, she's a waterbending master at this point. On level with anyone, really, I think.
Yeah, no, Paku, I think, would have, like, if they rematched, it would probably either be a stalemate or she would be winning, one of the two here.
Yeah, which is insane to me, considering it's only been a year.
Has it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if even that, because...
Well, they talk about how a year ago, like in the finale episode, basically, a year ago, blah, 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 blah. A year ago, blah, 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 blah.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
So, if it's not a full year, it's really close to.
It is a little bit of a Mary Sue syndrome here, where it's just like, okay, we are going to make this character good because, that's just the thing. But, you also have to consider the fact that she was just kind of a prodigy just to begin with.
Yeah, she was.
Because, she had nobody in her village to teach her water bending, but yet she figured it out somehow just to do, just basic stuff. And then, now that she was able to actually grow from that, she can actually go to her full potential essentially.
Yeah, and she does and gets tested along the way multiple times. They have the puppet master, I think, episode.
Yeah.
They also have the episode, I can't remember the name of it, where she goes and confronts her mother's killer.
The Southern Raiders.
Southern Raiders. Yeah, he was the leader of the Southern Raiders.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's. Personality-wise, she's still the mother of the Team Avatar.
I think you see that a lot more, especially in that one episode where Toph is running scams and all that.
Oh yeah,
and
they're all having fun and making money.
Yeah, she's kind of being the rube of the bunch here, and saying you guys need not to do this, but also even the Lady of the Lake episode where she's masquerading as the Lady of the Lake here essentially trying to be benevolent to this village and helping this village that's fallen on hard times because of the Fire Nation here and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you definitely see a compassionate side, but you also see her go to some serious and dark places here. We mentioned the Puppet Master episode. We also mentioned the Southern Raiders, but you also see her kind of have conflictions on her feelings for Aang as well, because there's that.
Zatara.
Yeah, because it's one point that she, just doesn't seem like she just sees Aang as a brother, and just hasn't thought of it in any other capacity or anything other than that here.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of nods this season to Katara and Aang not ending up together, because it gets brought up so many times. All the guys she's either had a thing for, or that the audience has wanted them to have a thing, like Jet. Zuko,
yeah.
And then what's the guy's name?
Earthbender.
Yeah,
I forget.
I want to say it's Haru, but I know that's wrong.
Nah, it's I know there's a Haru in the show. I just don't know.
That's the name of Chris Farley's character in Beverly Hills Ninja.
Yeah, I know that, but I'm sure there's a character named Haru. I just can't figure out which one.
But yeah, so basically any young boy or person that's come into the fold has been a love interest potentially for Katara.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Anything else on Katara?
No, not really. So let's move on to Sokka.
What a tribe. Yeah, he's still there for comedic effect. There's not as much comedy in this season, I don't think.
No, not
just
as
because
much.
of the overall tone. It's pretty serious.
Yeah.
He's one of the main strategists for the invasion, and then the Day of Black Sun specifically.
Yeah.
I love that he gets his own kind of master and becomes a swordsman.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Obviously, he's not a bender.
Right. And even that episode kind of addresses the whole fact that, compared to all the benders in Team Avatar, when it comes to combat, he's kind of the useless one out of the whole bunch, or he's the very underpowered one when everybody else is OP and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So he kind of finally finds a way to kind of make himself relevant into a combat standard when you have all these other people who have martial arts superpowers here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Essentially, you're dealing with people that are you walk into a gunfight, everyone's got a nuke but you.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, but I just love that he gets to kind of shine in multiple episodes this season.
He does, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the crown jewel of Avatar, the series, Prince Zuko.
Yep.
Again, has the most growth out of any character. Becomes the hero we all wanted. Spoilers.
Yeah.
And yeah, you get to see kind of what you were rooting for in season 2. It takes a little bit in season 3, about halfway through, until he actually becomes part of Team Avatar.
Yep.
After Day of Black Sun, which is like the mid-season finale, which is I think episode 10 and 11.
Roughly, yeah.
Then right after that, we get Zuko joining the team.
Yeah, so, we've talked on our podcasts and our shows that it's very hard to do a convincing redemption arc here. We talked about it like, in Star Wars with like Vader and Kylo Ren. I think Zuko's redemption arc is like basically like a gold standard on like how to do like or write a redemption arc for somebody here
and have it be believable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the main thing is like making it believable. And with Zuko, it most certainly is here.
Yeah, because he's I love, and we'll talk about the episode later, how like as much as this series is about Aang, it's about Zuko.
No, I mean, Zuko and Aang are the two main characters here. Like, Sokka, Katara, they're small potatoes compared to Zuko right now because
yeah, especially this season.
Yeah.
I mean, you could argue season 1, Katara and Sokka are much more in the limelight, but
I mean,
still Zuko being the yin to the yang.
Yeah.
Yeah, just great all-around writing for Zuko and acting from Dante Bosco.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So, Uncle Iroh.
Yeah.
He gets buff.
No, like he got swole in the clink.
Yep.
I mean, you don't get to see as much of Iroh as you do in like previous seasons, and I think that's probably more than likely due to the fact that his original voice actor died after finishing season 2. So I think they had to get a replacement actor, and I mean,
not hard, not easy to do.
Not easy to do, but I mean, I think he still does a good job of voicing him, and then which is kind of interesting because the same voice actor that who they got to replace Iroh in this season, he also voiced him in Korra.
Oh yeah,
but also in Samurai Jack season 5 because Monko voiced.
So he was like his double basically.
Basically, yeah, his voice double or whatever.
Those are real. Like,
are they? Really?
Oh yeah. Because you got to think of all the different sources of media. Like, James Arnold Taylor, who voices Obi-Wan Kenobi in the Clone Wars, was Ewan McGregor's voice double before Clone Wars even started.
Really?
For like video games and stuff like that.
Interesting.
Yeah, those are real jobs out there for sure.
Okay, interesting. So, again, don't get to see him as much as you do, but you still get some really great moments. Like, obviously him just like doing his own metal bending, like organic metal bending, because when the Day of Black Sun happens, he doesn't have his fire bending, but those bars are bent. Like,
oh yeah, I'm guessing because he was swole.
Yeah, he had to physically bend those bars. He had to physically do metal bending, like without actually like being an earthbender here.
I wonder if he did it before the eclipse actually happened, if he knew it was coming. Because we don't really know.
I think he did it when the eclipse happened because
so that he'd have a better shot.
Well, right, because I mean, if you're
either way, it seems like it'd be the same though, because he's a firebender and very strong, and so you're going toe to toe with other firebenders. But then at this point, you're just getting physical with a couple people, which is the same thing because you can't firebend either.
Right. I mean, I think the advantage was that
once he was out, that makes sense.
When he was, just in better physical form than any of the other firebenders, and the firebenders have been relying on firebending their entire life. So when they don't have that anymore, it's just like, okay, this is essentially kryptonite, and now Batman's coming to come after you here. Yep. I think that's basically what happened because he did break out during the Day of Black Sun here. Yeah. So, but, I think...
which is more like 8 minutes of Black Sun.
Sure.
But anyway.
Yeah.
All right, so anything else on Iroh?
No, not really. I mean, just... I mean, you do get to see him, like, finally understand, like, what is the White Lotus here.
Yeah, you do get to see the White Lotus.
He's been, like, pretty much the head of it this whole time.
Working in the background.
And, you also get to see just like little bits and pieces of like, his past with the Fire Nation, like how he didn't murder the last dragon. So he's kind of always been like somebody who's never quite been 100% dedicated to the Fire Nation to begin with here.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
Would have been a much better Fire Lord than
Oh yeah.
Ozai for sure.
Yep.
All right, so Toph, not a whole lot to say about Toph. She's still spunky. She's more lighthearted this season. She's not as critical.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
That's all I got for Toph.
I mean, yeah, not really much going on with Toph. I mean, it's like a lot more focus on like other characters this season.
Yeah.
But
Azula.
Yeah. So
She gets cray by the end of the season.
Oh, big time, yeah.
Like delusional, seeing stuff, like the whole 9 yards.
No, I mean she because I mean you've seen like maybe a glimpse here and there of like some underlying like psychosis in Azula in like season 2, and even like in this season, like for the most part you'll see like just some underlying stuff here, but never like her fully snapping here, where here like by the end of it she's like gone full psychotic.
Yeah.
And I mean she's haunted by her mother essentially just being disapproving of her life and how she goes about things. It's something that it's like the one thing that she's never quite gotten in her life, because she's become a master firebender. She's become a prodigy. She's had her father's approval. She's had all these things. The one thing that she had that that she didn't have that her brother did have was her mother's approval.
Right.
And, at the end of the day, her strive for perfection and all those things basically come back to like essentially be her downfall.
Yeah. Nope. And yeah, you see that play out in the last couple episodes with literally seeing visions of her mom. And, down to her, cutting her hair because it's not cooperating. Like, just how on edge everything kind of put her.
Oh, and she's like just straight up paranoid. She's like banishing.
Banishing everyone and those old ladies.
All these people that she deems untrustworthy. All of a sudden,
the Dai Li gone. Like,
yeah.
Yep. That fight would have been completely different if the Dai Li stayed.
Probably, yeah.
Like, there's even I know Zuko is super powered because the comet was happening, but when they have an Agni Kai, it's after she tells the Dai Li to go kick rocks, basically. Yeah. And they're like, okay.
I mean, that's what they do.
Yeah. So Ty Lee and Mai are still around.
Yeah.
Or May. I don't remember.
Mai, I'm pretty sure.
I think the only reason I put them on here is because they both have a moment with Azula that you're like, yes, thank you for not listening to your psychotic friend.
Yeah, no, for real.
So Mai basically
betrays
essentially betrays Azula because she's in love with Zuko.
Yeah.
And Azula was trying to basically, they were going to cut the line, and she goes against her, was her uncle?
Yeah,
who's like the
warden,
warden of this prison, and Zuko's trying to get out of it with some people, and they're gonna cut it, and she basically stops Azula from finishing it. They got off; they were all in this skirmish, and she's like, "I'm gonna fight you," basically, and then as soon as Azula's gonna bend at her, Mai comes in and chi blocks her.
Yeah,
and then she has like kind of Mai has a redemptive arc, and she joins the Kyoshi Warriors at the end
Ty Lee, you mean?
Sorry, Ty Lee does. Yeah. She's like, I taught him all chi blocking.
Yeah.
Which in my head, I'm like, because there are people in Korra that chi block.
Yeah,
they had to have learned it from someone.
Yeah, the Equalist or all that. So, yeah.
Yeah. So maybe Ty Lee was the start of the Equalist.
Something, or like something got passed down somewhere along the lines. Hard to say.
Oops.
So, I mean... And then, you got a couple other characters in there as well here. Mostly side characters like
Suki. They're a lot more, but still not a main character because of her relationship with Sokka.
I mean, essentially, that's the main reason why she's there. She doesn't really she's more of a plot device for Sokka as opposed to like being like her own full character with her own
mean, there's some really funny moments that happen because Suki's around like the tent scene.
Yep.
So Sokka's waiting he's getting all I don't know what the word would be.
Prepped.
He's getting prepped for Suki to come and spend some quality time with him.
Yeah.
And so he's got like candles lit and all this stuff. And he's like, oh, hey, Suki. And then Zuko's the one that walks in the room. And he's like, hey, it's Zuko. And he's like, oh, hey, Suki wasn't coming over.
Yeah.
And then because she's outside, you see her outside.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some really funny moments with that. So
No, there most certainly are here. And so, yeah. I mean, you got other characters like Boomy who comes back. I mean, not really much to say about him, but you do finally get like
why he was waiting.
And so he's just like, oh, there's an eclipse. All right. Yeah, I guess I'll go
take back
this.
the whole city by myself.
Go do this now, which just seeing them fight in there, I felt like he could have done that without the eclipse here.
Yeah.
But,
less casualties.
Yeah, but hey, writing, I guess. But
yeah.
But
then you get people that come back like Master Paco.
Yeah, Master Paco, the swordsman.
I can't remember his name.
I can't either, but he's part of the White Lotus too. Zhang. Yep, he's in there. Yep.
Yeah. So, but that's pretty much the White Lotus are all the masters they've met for the whole series almost.
Yeah.
So you have the sword master, you have the waterbending master. The only thing I don't really have is an earthbender.
Well, Boomy.
Oh, duh. Yeah, so you got Boomy.
Yeah.
Then you have Zhang for fire. And then you have Iroh, who's kind of the head of it all.
Yep.
So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like
little mini Avengers of Grandmaster Benders in the world of Avatar.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about some notable episodes.
Yeah, so all right, let's start off with episode 1, which is The Awakening. We already kind of talked about this, but I want to go a little bit more in depth on it. So first off, Aang has hair, and it looks super weird.
Yep.
And he has it for about half the season too.
Yeah.
Here. I mean, granted, the headband kind of helps it out a little bit, kind of blends it in a little bit better.
Well, and he's trying to hide that arrow.
Yep.
Obviously.
Absolutely. So
because they are full on in the Fire Nation,
enemy
low-key.
territory.
Yep.
But no, you see him like in this episode, really feeling guilty about him just letting Ba Sing Se down. It really is like, I think, calling back to him about like when he ran away and basically froze himself for 100 years in that storm here. And he's like, I did it again, and he's like, that wasn't supposed to happen. None of this was supposed to happen. And then you have Katara, who's like bitter at her dad. It's kind of like, seeing like that more serious side of Katara here. And then, just her dad just not being there because of the war and like, all these things have happened. And then Zuko gets to return home. He's the hero now, basically. Pretty much got everything he wanted.
Yeah. Or thought he wanted.
Yeah. But then like, basically ends with like Aang essentially ditching his staff here and like just letting it burn on like this nearby volcanic island here.
Yeah. Pretty good episode to open the season with. There's a lot of explaining what's been going on.
A lot of stage setting as well here.
Yeah, and like the next few episodes, like we're not going to talk about them very much, but the next 2 is kind of like him going to a Fire Nation school and seeing how indoctrinated, that's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
Indoctrinated all these kids are.
Yeah.
And then they have to leave because they have a dance party and they're not allowed to dance because it's the town of Footloose.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
So anyway, but yeah, so let's talk about episode 4, Sokka's Master.
Yeah. So what'd you think of it?
I mean, I think it was just a sweet, cool episode. Definitely written for Sokka. But not just to be for Sokka since it's the last season, but it gave him a lot more
agency,
purpose and agency for the whole season.
More things to do as opposed to just being like being the ideas guy,
the boomerang guy.
The boomerang
now
guy.
He's space sword guy.
Yeah, space sword guy. Exactly. Yep.
So yeah, and his teacher obviously being tied to the White Lotus, super cool.
Yeah.
And we get a nod to that in this episode where he has the Pai Sho thing on the front of his was like a door entering his compound.
I think so, but then he gave him like the Pai Sho piece that
piece.
was the White Lotus, and like, oh, I wonder what that means. And everybody who's like been paying attention this whole time, it's like, I see what you're doing there.
Yeah. So it was really cool. He wasn't there very long, but he was learning some sword stuff, and the master helped him craft his own sword, and he had to find the material to make it out of, and he decided an asteroid.
Yeah, I mean,
which is cool.
Yeah, and very very Chinese style of sword fighting here, in terms of like technique and whatnot. I'm blanking on like the specific name of the art or the style, but yeah. But so next episode be talking about is the beach. Now I really only put this on here just because there's like one part that I feel like is really key towards the end of this episode is where Zuko, Azula, Mai, and Ty Lee, they're all just having a day at the beach and all that, and you get to see how they just hang out just for fun here for the most part here.
Yeah.
But like towards the end of the episode, they just have this campfire on the beach, and basically this is kind of where you get to see like all four of these characters like really kind of spill their guts and like know what makes them tick for the most part here. I mean, you kind of understand like why Ty Lee is the way she is, why Mai is the way she is, and then I think the big money shot, so to speak, is essentially Zuko basically saying all these things that I got everything I want, but now I'm angrier than ever here.
Yeah.
And then he's like, it eventually leads them into like saying, I'm angry at myself because I don't know what's right and wrong anymore here.
Yeah.
Because I mean, he betrayed his uncle. He betrayed like, the progress that he was making on that. And so I think that's kind of like where you start to finally see Zuko really come to terms to like all the decisions that he's made up to this point here.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I think it's a hilarious episode, especially when Azula's trying to flirt with the boy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. That was hilarious to me. I don't know why. It was just like how psychotic she is and like caught up in like war
her
and
dictatorship
power.
and
Yeah,
all that.
yeah, exactly.
Yep.
All right, episode 6, The Avatar and the Fire Lord.
Mm-hmm.
This, to me, is one of the most important episodes of the season, I think.
Probably the series in general here, just because, I mean, this really like goes into detail of like pretty much everything that led up to the whole conflict and like how things came to be for the most part here.
Yeah, so we get to see more. It's a flashback episode that flashes back in time to Zuko's reading these scrolls he's found on the Ember Islands, and then Aang's talking to Roku about
like
why he needs to know about the past, basically.
Yeah. I mean, essentially what this is like the episode 3 Revenge of the Sith of Avatar here. It's like to the original trilogy. If the last Airbender is the original trilogy, this episode is like the Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah,
episode.
totally.
Like,
how did we get to the point that we are now?
Exactly.
So we get to see Roku, and we get a first look at Sozin.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Zuko's grandpa or great grandpa.
Yeah.
And their relationship, because they were both best friends.
They were, yeah.
And now, so we didn't know they had this relationship. They grew up together, really close friends. And then at Sozin's kind of coronation of sorts, or birthday. I think it was, they shared a birthday. That's what it was. They shared a birthday. It was a big party.
Yeah.
Sozin, it was supposed to be high-centered kind of around Sozin, I guess, because he's the prince.
Yeah.
And then all these monks people show up and saying,
we found the
Avatar, and they start bowing to Roku.
Yeah.
And he's like,
oh, okay.
So Zuko gets to learn a couple things about his great grandfather Sozin.
Mm-hmm.
And you get to see kind of a little bit of jealousy maybe in that of him and Roku, obviously, but then the opportunity Sozin sees to share the power, share how great of a nation they are with the rest of the world.
Yeah, no.
Now having the Avatar on his side.
Yeah, no. I mean, basically, like, kind of shows like the original intent of like why the war happened in the first place, and essentially it was out of like the idea of like saying that
prosperity.
We have so much prosperity. Why don't we conquer the world, that way we can make the world prosperous as well here, as opposed to like just letting the world be as it is, and we're just holed up in our islands basically.
Yeah, and then you see like the conflict. So Roku leaves for years, comes back in a grown man, because he leaves when he's I think 16 to start training in the other bending styles. A lot of time has passed, because I think he's gray at this point when he comes back almost.
I mean, yeah, well, yeah. There's also because like that whole conversation about like, Sozin starting the war. That happens at his Roku's wedding day here and all that.
Oh, that's right. So yeah, he comes back, and then there's some back and forth, and then Sozin is kind of overstepping still. So Roku has to step in and kind of own him, basically slap him a little around and go, if you don't stop this, I'm gonna put you down, basically.
Yeah.
And then it goes up until when Roku dies.
Yeah.
Which is he's saving an entire island of people from a volcano.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
Which, I mean, yeah, and then you have like Sozin who comes in and he's going to help. And it looks like, okay, these guys are just going to patch things up and it's going to go back to normal here. Nope. Basically, Sozin
leaves him, yeah.
Use that as an opportunity for...
He does help him for a minute.
He does, but I mean, But
he seizes the opportunity of, okay, the Avatar's going to be gone now, a baby, essentially.
Yeah.
And I can do what I wanted to do. I can take the world over.
And then I can destroy the air nomads, end the cycle, and then call it good.
Yep. And then the big bombshell in this episode is he goes, Iroh starts talking to Zuko as he's reading these scrolls saying, this is about your great-grandfather. And he's like, yeah, but I just don't understand what I was supposed to learn from this. He's like, no. Yeah, Sozin's your great-grandfather, but Avatar Roku is your other great-grandfather on your mom's side.
Yeah.
And you're just like, what?
Yeah.
Like,
which is even going into like that comic about like them finding Zuko's mom and stuff like that. Reason being like why her and Ozai were paired up from the beginning was because she had the Avatar's bloodline.
Yep.
So and then obviously Ozai had Sozin's bloodline, so they figured like, okay, we can like put these two together and like create like a really strong line of benders with this here, basically.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Super good episode though.
Yeah, no.
Great lore episode.
I mean, we don't get a lot of like world building and lore bending in this season in particular compared to the other seasons, but like this one is like the one that really hits it home here for that. Like if it's mostly condensed just to this episode, but
yeah,
man, like the stuff that they put in there, really good stuff here.
Yeah.
So moving on, talking about other notable episodes, talking about the Puppet Master.
Yep.
So basically, one question. Did Stephen King write this episode? Because,
yeah, he did.
My gosh, this is like some like
horror movie.
It's horror movie stuff here,
from the beginning.
Talking
around a campfire,
telling scary stories and stuff like that, and then like you meet the innkeeper who's seems kind of off, kind of creepy for a minute there, and then they find out more about her. It's like, oh, she was just a waterbender that got stolen away, and she's just been hiding out in the Fire Nation ever since here. And it's just like, okay, so she's a good guy then, by definition. And then you find out more about her and like, because what was going on like before this point is there's been like rumors and like these people that were disappearing in like the woods that she was in, and she was the one responsible for that. And how she did that was a technique called blood bending, where you bend the water inside somebody to make them do what you want them to do. Hence the name Puppet Master.
Yeah.
Here. And so she's kind of mentoring Katara at this point, kind of showing her all the other ways you can use bending or like where you can draw water from. So she's like using it from like, the grass, like, and like the trees and like just pulling like water out of like those things and making them wilt and all that. But, useful. But then like, get to the point where it's like, when it's a full moon out and when your water bending abilities are at its peak, blood bending, that's a thing and you can do it. And ultimately Katara has to blood bend in order to save both Aang and Zuko. Otherwise the Puppet Master lady was going to have them kill each other essentially.
Yep.
So
I think you said it well. Episode 10 and 11.
Yeah.
Two-parter episode, The Day of Black Sun.
Yep.
This is the cool mini team up episode that you think is going to be the finale almost.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a bait and switch episode because you see like Aang shaving his head. Toph's got like
the Avatar's back.
Yeah, Toph's got her like her hat that she's wearing. Sokka is like putting on his like wolf armor and all that. It's like And then, you have Katara and then Kiss. And it's like, okay, this is really speaking to like some finality to it. And you have like old characters coming back, like the Boulder comes back, as well as
the Duke, Pipsqueak.
The Duke, Pipsqueak, and the people from I think it was the Northern Air Temple, or the guys who the guys
Western Air Temple, I think.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know.
But the ones that basically
the invention people who
took
were
over,
living in one of the temples.
Who took over the temple, yeah.
Western Air Temple. I think is what it was. No, because then they went to the Western Air Temple.
I don't know.
One of the air temples. We don't know. Yeah, cool inventions.
Yeah.
Like the little snake moving thing, like the slug almost things that the earthbenders are controlling.
Submarines, essentially, yeah.
We get subs. So the balloon idea, so this is kind of a throwback. The balloon idea that the Fire Nation stole after they were riding around in it, invented it.
Yeah, they come back.
And they're bigger and badder than they were before, like these huge, gigantic war balloons.
Yeah, which, I mean, comes to full fruition in the finale here.
Yeah. Yep.
But
yeah, I think it was a good episode. Sokka gets to actually lead the invasion because their dad actually gets wounded, and so he basically just leaves it up completely to Sokka to do this, and they fail.
Yeah.
Because Azula learned last season that they were planning on attacking on that day, so they're kind of all locked away, and there's no one in the city when they show up.
Yeah, no, they basically just they were prepared and they were ready for whatever precautions they needed to take in order to make this happen here.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then you've also finally get to see Zuko stand up against his dad, basically tell him like you are a garbage person, basically. Yep. Like, you have done all these things to me in my life. I'm going to free my uncle. I'm going to
join the Avatar. And we're going to take you down.
All that stuff. And then his dad responds by shooting lightning at him. And then Zuko does his redirection technique and then bails here.
Yep.
And then Iroh basically goes beast mode and gets himself out of jail. You don't actually get to see it.
No, that'd been cool.
Yeah. But yeah, so
pretty solid episode.
Pretty solid episode, yeah.
And I think the next episode we're going to talk about is even more important than this one, personally.
Okay.
Which is episode 12, the Western Air Temple.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is the episode where Zuko joins Team Avatar.
Yeah, and I mean, has a hard time doing it, like, for starters.
Well, it wouldn't be easy if you were trying to capture the Avatar and kill the other people, basically.
Sure. Well, yeah, you've been the villain
for
two
like seasons.
2 seasons, basically. But, yeah, and so obviously there's going to be some trust issues there and all that. I mean,
they came around in one episode.
Yeah.
Well, hey, I'm a good guy now.
Except for Katara.
By the end of it, she was kind of into it. Or I guess not. She still had doubts throughout the next few.
Oh, she most definitely did. But, yeah, and then, and even like callbacks, like, the fact that like Appa was friendly to him just because like he freed him when he was at Lake Laogai or whatever. And then other things too, but then they learned that he was the one that hired the Combustion Man here, which one thing we did not mention is basically
there's this assassin chasing
the Avatar.
Team Avatar that can shoot fire from his mind, with his mind.
Yeah, basically like
explosions.
Yeah, basically explosions for the most part here. And so he's been hunting him for like pretty much the beginning of the season for the most part, because Zuko came to realize that the Avatar still probably is alive, and if he shows up if he shows up being alive after I got all the credit for taking him out.
That's why Azula gave it to him. Yeah,
then I'm in trouble, basically. So he's trying to kind of circumvent that, make sure that doesn't happen. And but basically that ends up being like a point of contention with Team Avatar here. And then, but eventually he takes down the Combustion Man, and he gains their trust, and then he starts to teach firebending Dang.
Yep.
Yeah.
Then we get episode 12, the Western Air Temple.
Well,
oh, sorry, we just did that one.
We just did that one.
Brain fart.
Yeah.
Episode 13, Firebending Masters. This was a really cool episode,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, no, it's I mean, really, you just kind of get to see like the whole idea of firebending, because like when we were first introduced to like the whole concept and like learning how to firebend from John and like book one, you know, all he really talked about is like the discipline it requires, the danger it has, and then like even with like Zuko, you see him like only relying on his rage to like actually make it happen here. And even Zuko's having a hard time firebending in this episode
because he's at peace finally.
Well, yeah, he finally has peace. He doesn't have like that rage that's fueling his firebending. And so they both have to go back to the original source of firebending in order to like understand like, okay, how do we actually firebend? And then it turns out that there are two dragons that are still alive. They didn't all get purged like the stories that the Fire Nation told them. Iroh actually let them live here. And so after they, learn from the dragons, then basically they are now able to start practicing firebending at that point.
Yeah, and I think the difference is they kind of given the revelation that fire is very similar to like life. Like it's like
it's been associated just pretty much only
rage
with
and
destruction for the most part, like up to this point here. And you're seeing
energy is what they talk about in life and
like in
passion,
and seeing like kind of like a more of a beauty behind it rather than just like, the bad guy destructive force type of thing here,
Yeah. What super cool episode. Yeah. And then it gives obviously both of them the ability to start really going forward with their firebending.
Yeah. Nope, for sure.
All right.
So, next up is 14 and 15, The Boiling Rock. So, two-parter episode, basically.
Yeah, for me, I didn't like these episodes that much.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know why. I just didn't.
I mean, I would say key episode for Sokka, because this is essentially Sokka's main mission to rescue Suki, rescue
his dad.
Hakoda. Gives them a chance. Gives them, more opportunities to actually show that him being the ideas man and like coming up with a way to get out of there. Also gives, Zuko and Sokka a chance to bond and like, establish more trust. I mean, there's that great line in there where they're going over to they're flying over to the prison and they're talking about like Sokka's ex-girlfriend, and he's like, like he's like, yeah, my last girlfriend before Suki, she became the moon. And then Zuko's just like, that's rough, buddy.
Yeah. That was a pretty good line.
Yeah. But and so, they rescue Suki, they rescue Hakodo. And then, but probably like the biggest thing was like Mai and Ty Lee turn on Azula in this episode.
Yeah, that is the key part.
Yeah.
So other than that, I mean, to me, it was, you got to see like Sokka being Sokka, but other than that, it was like, okay.
Yeah.
And then they got a new guy. What was the new guy's name? There's like, hi, I'm new at the end of the episode.
Oh, yeah.
When they all return.
The prison guy or whatever. I forget, but.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Next episode is episode 16, the Southern Raiders, where Katara, or is he, I can't remember. I'm trying to think if Zuko asked Katara what happened to her mom.
He asked Sokka that because like that's the part we were talking about earlier where he goes into the tent here. He goes in there to talk
that's right.
Talk to Sokka about like what happened to.
So Zuko ends up getting information from Sokka, and he's like, hey, do you remember their flag? Oh, those are the Southern Raiders. I know where they're at.
Yeah.
They go. So then he says, hey, I know where the people that killed your mom are. Let's go check them out with Katara.
Yeah.
At this point, everyone's gone on these life-changing adventures with Zuko.
Yeah.
Everyone's kind of gotten their own thing. So now it's Katara's turn, and she goes, and they end up going toe-to-toe with the guy that did it. And she can't do anything. She's like, I'm not going to kill him.
Well, and then also, because I mean, Katara was like full on like rage mode.
She wanted to kill him.
And there was like one guy in there that she just ends up bloodbending in order to get information out of, get information on like where the man that killed her father is. And, and you also learn like, what led up to Katara's mom dying is because the Southern Raiders were basically cracking down on waterbenders, and they heard that there was a waterbender in the
Southern tribe, yeah.
Southern tribe. So basically, Katara's mom takes the fall for it. Says, I'm the
waterbender.
I'm the waterbender to
take me prisoner, yeah.
To protect Katara here. And so that's...
And then the guy goes, I'm not taking prisoners today. Yep, and kills her right
exactly.
there. And then they leave.
Yep. So let's talk about the showstopper of this season, which is... The finisher. So we're talking the grand finale, episode 18 through 21, Sozin's Comet.
Yep.
So starts out, Aang is conflicted on how he should handle the Fire Lord. He wants to stop him, doesn't necessarily want to kill him. He's consulting his friends. He's consulting past avatars. Pretty much every one of them is saying like, yeah, buddy, we know you want to be a pacifist on this, but you kind of have to do this here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then you get Phoenix King Ozai, self-proclaimed ruler of the world now.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to burn everything to the ground, rebuild it, and he named Azula the new Fire Lord.
Yep.
So,
yeah, and then we also get like an actual proper introduction to the White Lotus and actually understand what they are now here. And it consists of Bumi, it consists of Zhang,
yep,
Paku, Sokka's swordmaster, and then of course Iroh here, who head guy.
Yeah, and then you get some cool moments with Iroh and Zuko. They're reunited.
Yeah,
and then the White Lotus. So Iroh's had these dreams of taking Ba Sing Se for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't really necessarily know that it was going to be to reclaim Ba Sing Se for the Earth Kingdom and not for the Fire Nation.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep, exactly. Which, I mean, yeah, kind of a interesting twist of fate on that one here. But, and then among that whole conversation that Iroh has with Zuko wants Iroh to be the Fire Lord and like take his dad's place. And he's like, no, my time is pretty much come and gone. You're going to take your dad's place, essentially. You're going to be the new Fire Lord. So basically, Team Avatar is kind of like divvying it up because right now they have no idea where Aang is, so they're just trying to like make do without him the best they can.
Mm-hmm.
And so the plan is like Toph, Sokka, and Suki, they're going to go try to do something about the air fleet that they have going on. And then Zuko and Katara, they're going to go confront Azula here. And then he's going to essentially challenge her for the title
Agni
of Fire
Kai.
Lord. Yep. Agni Kai.
So yeah, with all that going on, we have these little pods of Team Avatar going around doing different stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We have Aang, who's on this island, which turns out to be a lion turtle.
Yeah.
Who, we won't get into the lore of the lion turtles, but basically gives Aang a new ability, which is energy bending.
Yep.
So basically a cop-out to where he's not going to have to kill Ozai.
Pretty much,
He can take his bending away.
Yep.
If he's not corrupted.
Yeah, if his will is stronger than Ozai's, essentially, here. Then,
which I'm surprised by that, but, obviously he has to win the day. It's the Avatar.
It's the Avatar. And then Azula is starting to go, like we mentioned earlier, full-on paranoid, crazy, cutting her hair, banishes the Dai Li, banishes her advisors, those two old women.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, it's this John is showcasing like what Sozin's Comet can do. He can fly. Iroh is going
that was
off.
dope.
Yeah,
him just hovering in the air basically and flying around shooting fireballs.
Oh yeah, and then I mean, basically like Sozin's Comet is like magnifying every firebender's ability to firebend to like a T. Like basically,
they're just OP.
Well, yeah, because essentially like what it's coming down to now is like you could have one firebender on the war balloon.
Yeah.
Basically like
spraying fire
napalming like or like doing like essentially like a airstrike just with one guy.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy.
And then at the very end of these episodes, we get kind of, two main fights.
Yes.
We have Ozai versus Avatar Aang,
mm-hmm.
And then Zuko versus Azula.
And Katara.
And, at the end, she shows up.
But
so looking at Which one do you want to look at first?
Let's do Zuko and Azula first here. So
Zuko shows up right in time during the coronation of Azula, and she's about to be made Fire Lord, and he challenges her to an Agni Kai.
And at first they weren't going to do it, but he's like, "No, there's something off about her. I can take her."
Well, so it's not that they weren't going to do it. Is that Iroh said you and Katara need to take her together?
Down, yeah.
And then so that's what Katara says is like, we're supposed to do it together. He's like, something's off. I can take her.
Yeah.
So Agni Kai happens, and an epic fight ensues. Like the colors are amazing. Like the fighting's awesome. Like the score is amazing.
This fight and the Ozai fight, they blew out the budget for their animation department in there. It looks so good. And
the score is awesome. Like it was like just score. There's no talking or anything with the fighting. And so it was really interesting until Azula gets hit by one of Zuko's fireballs.
Yeah.
And then
he does like that breakdancing move essentially.
Yeah, the spin kicks on the ground. Yeah, super awesome though. And the only reason Azula, like Zuko could have taken her straight on at this point, but then she's doing lightning bending.
Yeah.
Zuko kind of makes a comment like, why aren't you lightning bending? Afraid I'll redirect it?
Yeah.
And then like, I think that's what she says in this fight. And then she targets Katara.
Yeah.
Knowing Zuko's going to have to try to protect her.
Yep.
And then he takes he's not able to redirect it because he's just jumping in front of it.
Right.
And then so
Katara, at least not redirected properly, because it looks like he does
slightly to where he wouldn't die.
He does kind of redirect it a little bit, or like is trying to, but like he's trying to do it last minute and try to protect Katara, so his form doesn't look like it's like completely perfect. So he does take a hit on this one essentially.
And then Katara comes in and starts fighting and doesn't have enough water, and then finds the underground water system the Fire Nation uses and beats Azula.
Yeah, and like really creative fashion. She like lures Azula over to the grate where all the water's at.
Yeah.
And then like encases both of them in ice, slowly thaws
her side of the ice
down so she could like use this chain that she found just like 2 seconds earlier, wraps it around like Azula's hands and like basically pins her down more or less so that she can't actually do anything anymore.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then Azula's defeated.
Yeah. And then we get to the fight that has been like promised like since pretty much the beginning of this series here, which is Fire Lord Ozai versus Avatar Aang here. I mean,
dope from the gates.
Oh yeah, no.
Super awesome action, really good animation.
Mm-hmm.
Next level bending and fight choreography. The colors they use are amazing, all the different reds and stuff like that. You see Aang lose a lot of move from previous episodes. What I mean by that is like the rock armor,
the water whip,
stuff like that, which is awesome.
Yeah, no, just really good callbacks and all that. And, and the whole thing we didn't mention earlier, but Aang hasn't had a chance or hasn't been able to go into the Avatar state ever since Azula
shot him with lightning
here, kind of like blocked his chakra or separated like something and all that. And then in the fight, he gets a rock hits him like right where he got hit by lightning and stuff like that.
Somehow unlocks it.
Like basically re-triggers it, re-unlocks it, whatever you want to call it here. And it's like that's when like Ozai knew he effed up basically here, because like he comes out of the rubble, just like grabs his like beard goatee and all that, and he's just like blocking it and just like basically has him on the run at that point here.
Yeah, that's when you know that the tide's kind of turned. He uses like this cool bubble and then like brings all these other elements and rings around his air bubble.
Yeah.
And so basically he's doing some like he shoots out like rock bullets at certain points and just really cool stuff he's doing. And then eventually it looks like he captures Ozai in like these rocks and looks like he's going to do a finishing blow, comes out of the Avatar state to stop it. He lets Ozai out because he's still got his butt kicked and he's still kind of whimpering around.
Yeah.
And then it looks like Ozai's going to try to make a move.
Yeah.
And he does. He shoots lightning at him.
Well, yeah. and like he uses that Toph's earth bending technique
to
sense it here, and then basically earth bends his limbs and all that, and repels like his fire that's coming out of his mouth, and then like basically energy bends him.
Yeah, it takes his bending away.
Yep.
And then that's it for the fight, pretty much.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, just a couple of notes on like just what happens next. I mean, Zuko and Mai end up together, at least
we think,
because the comic goes into some detail about whether or not they actually did or did not stay together here.
Okay.
They had like a little on and off again kind of thing.
Sure.
So
I mean, he had to marry someone. He's got grandkids in Korra.
He does, yeah. Ty Lee joined the Kyoshi Warriors, like we mentioned earlier. Teaches them the chi blocking. Zuko is the Fire Lord, and it kind of mirrors.
Sozin and Roku, what they could have had in the peace that could have ensued.
What could have happened like all those years ago, and then the cliffhanger that they like to tease, like in like not only in this series but even in Korra as well. Here, like where has Zuko's mother been this whole time, man? Have you looked into like all the stuff that
briefly
happened? Like it's wild, man. It's like she like got married again, had a
memory erased,
her face changed, had a kid, and like all sorts of stuff.
I don't know who wrote that, but I don't know. It's canon.
Yeah, it's canon,
but it's freaking weird, man.
Like, I mean,
maybe that's why they didn't do a third or a fourth season.
I don't know, but
if that was,
but definitely, like, if you're curious about that, check that out. There are videos on YouTube that are going to go into full detail on that.
Iroh's got his tee shot back in Bossing Say.
He does, yeah. I mean, he's just hanging out, having a good time, and then
then Aang and Katara have a moment at the end of the series.
That's like
it's all finished.
That's the last shot, right?
Yeah, the series is literally finished after two children kiss.
Yeah,
because Aang's 13 and she's 15 at this point. I think. Which I'm like,
okay.
There's a lot of kissing in the show for a kid's show.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't get it. They didn't have to be.
I mean, it is.
It's so weird watching animation do that.
Well, it's just weird, like having like kids that young like have a love story. Like,
I know,
them just because it's just
I'm
like
12.
It's like you don't know Jack. Like,
I mean, the cultures are different and stuff like that.
Well, cultures are different, but I mean, I think this is just kind of more of like what other like shows or movies or whatever do not have like a love story. Like the majority of them do.
Almost all of them, yeah.
I mean, this is just happens to be one that focuses on kids here for the most part, of like age is like 13 to 12 to like 16 or something like that. So yeah, I mean, it is what it is here.
Yeah.
But all right, well, let's talk about what we liked about this season.
Zuko.
Yeah.
That's it.
No, I mean,
yeah.
I mean, he is, probably the best written character in this show here, just in terms of like story arcs and all that stuff. I think, they absolutely nailed it with him. I mean, for me, Iroh becoming a beast, I thought that was awesome. And then you also get to see the Fire Nation up close here. It was nice to see like what it was actually like on the inside, right? I mean, versus what everyone says about it, right? And you get to see like, okay, how is life in the Fire Nation? Is it good? Is it bad? Are the people victim of the Fire Nation victims too? And turns out, they kind of are actually here. The children are indoctrinated to be essentially like an extension of like the empire and the government, and then you have like their own villages being like put at risk or like just not cared for if they need like weapons or like a factory to pollute it. And so there's definitely problems with the Fire Nation, so you get to see that up close here. And overall, I like the serious tone, the darker tone that it takes this season. I think that I think it just made for better season, better writing and all that. The expanded lore when it came to like Roku and Sozin and their history together. That was cool. Super cool. That was really cool. But I mean, again, the showstoppers, Sozin's comment here.
Yeah.
Like those last 4 episodes, just banger. And
Yep.
yeah.
I agree with you on that.
So-
But yeah, no, I was just gonna say, yeah, Zuko's whole arc, learning more about him, and just like the reveals of Roku being his great grandfather,
Yeah.
all that stuff, and yeah, I just really liked the season. I liked how Aang turned out, and
Yeah.
kind of how he was able to do what he needed to do.
Yeah, exactly. Fulfill his destiny for the most part. So, least favorite parts.
I feel like it was short only because I enjoyed all the episodes so much.
Yeah.
I wish we got another season, or at least like maybe like a movie or something that kind of wrapped up the cliffhanger of Where's My Mother.
Well, I mean, that's what the comic for.
I know, but nobody's gonna read those.
Wow.
Except for all the people on the internet.
Yep. Basically.
Yeah, I understand the comics and stuff like that. That's what it's
But-
for.
but
there was originally supposed to be book 4 air though.
Really?
And I hope now with the success that's happening, they go back, maybe not right after, but do like an in-between series between that and Korra.
Yeah, like kind of like how we saw glimpses in Korra.
Yeah, do it when they're adults.
When they're adults and they're in Republic City.
Yeah.
You have Sokka on the council. You have Toph leading up the metal bending task force and all that.
I mean, realistically, you could have the series. I mean, if you want to do like a Boruto thing, I don't know why you would. Maybe be 50-50 split with Boomy, Kaya, and Tenzin, because those are really, if you look at those characters, Boomy's a lot like Sokka.
Yeah.
Then you got Kaya who's Katara and Tenzin who's more like Aang.
Yeah.
And so you could have those three do adventures or whatever.
You could. I mean, that is...
Or have them be around while the adults are doing
I mean,
stuff.
that is an opportunity there. I mean, heck, I wouldn't even mind to see like maybe even more on like Roku or Kyoshi or like some of the previous avatars, or even like let's dial it all the way back. Let's see Wan here.
We saw the beginning and end basically of Wan.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, but going into but getting back on track here. So things that I don't like about this season in particular. I would just really have like just 2 episodes in general. I think the play episode is kind of a waste of time.
I like that one.
Yeah,
I thought it was hilarious.
I mean, I get what they were going for. I just kind of felt like, okay, I like
filler. Yeah,
it's filler. And then even in the beach episode, I felt like was filler with like high school drama pretty much here. And it's like, even though like, I will say like it does have like a pretty important moment like towards the end of it. It's still like the majority of it. I was just like, whatever. Yeah. But overall thoughts here.
Yeah, best season of Avatar, really solid, important wrap up of the whole series. Like they did a great job.
Yeah, no, I mean
10 out of 10. I don't know how they could have done it better, to be honest.
I mean, no, this is the best season of the last Airbender here. Wraps up everything in a set.
I would have liked more Iroh.
Yeah,
but I understand why they didn't.
Yeah, but I mean, it wraps everything up in a satisfying way, and that's something that not many TV shows you can actually say do well. Game of Thrones?
Nope.
But characters become fully realized or epic fights. I mean, the whole Sozin's Comet story arc, or like the finale and all that, that is like pretty much like, giving everybody a textbook example of how to do a epic finale to a series here.
Yeah.
And so
take notes, filmmakers.
So one last question I do want to ask you before we wrap up here. So obviously we're going to be getting a live action version of this here. What do you want to see from that in terms of like, how different do you want it to be? Because obviously I don't think either one of us really want a shot for shot remake like a la Lion King or something like that.
I would say, it's got to have the same story beats as far as like the overall, obviously, arc of it.
Yeah.
I'd like it to be heavily more martial arts, like heavily on the martial arts side of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And don't take too many liberties.
Yeah.
Like be creative, but don't try to make it something it's not, like the movie did.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I think here's the thing. This is like a great story, great writing, all this stuff here. I feel like, it should be experienced by more people than it already is here. I think the barrier of entry is just the fact that, some people will look at it and just be like, oh, it's a kid's show,
right.
And it's like, if this was like kind of like maybe like going more towards like that like a Marvel crowd, or like, done in the style of like a
Yeah,
Star Wars
I would
movie.
say age it up a little bit.
Age it up a little bit, like kind of make it like more of like a PG-13 style.
I think they have to with how much action there is.
I think you are correct on that. And so if you kind of like, make it with that intention in mind, and then like, you can do like some of the more serious or darker storylines, or like have that tone a little bit earlier on in the seasons potentially, or like, handle like, some bigger themes with that. I think that would be probably the way to go, in all honesty. I mean,
and I would say definitely the score needs to be there.
Oh, it's got to be there. Yeah,
like
absolutely.
I want that same score that they have in theme music.
Yeah. So,
and I love the drumming. I forgot how much to tell you. I love the drumming in that Masters episode. With like the Sun People.
Oh yeah.
We need that, more of that in the live action episodes.
Yeah.
I think I'm more interested to see the cast.
Yeah, I mean,
I hope it's no-namers. I hope it's just newcomers, or maybe people have been in some big stuff, but they're not like huge,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would probably prefer that too, in all honesty. But yeah, it'll be interesting. Hopefully we actually get some details on that fairly soon, just because it got announced like maybe about a year and a half ago, and we haven't heard anything since.
Not really.
So yeah, kind of weird, but anyway. All right.
That's it. Thank you guys for listening. We greatly appreciate it. Check out our other Thursday throwbacks, book 2, book 1, and sometime in the near future, we don't know when, we'll probably end up doing Korra, but until then, stay tuned for other throwbacks. We're going to have other movies in there as well. And have an awesome week, and remember, everyone's a nerd about something.